Hey everyone, this is Alexander James Guitars, and welcome to this episode of Fix It Friday. Today we have this Sigma acoustic guitar, and the customer's complaining about some buzz on the second fret here. So I'll see if I can reproduce that so you guys can hear it. So we're going to have to check this area out, see what's going on with the frets. Maybe there's a high spot, maybe a low spot, and I'm thinking that this guitar is going to need some fret work. So here I pulled out my three-sided fret rocker. And basically how this works is you put it on 3 frets at a time, and you can see if there's a low spot or a high spot in the fret. And it'll rock on that fret. So let me show you what that would be like. So we're hearing some buzz on that second fret. So first we're going to check that, and we're going to go up from there. So I'm just going to push the string out of the way with the fret rocker because I want to get right underneath where the string would touch the fret. And you can see there's no rock on the second fret there. So let's go up a bit. Yep. We got a high fret. See, you can hear the rocking that is being produced by pushing weight on the front and the back of the three-sided fret rocker here. So definitely, we have a high fret here, and we need to address that. So we're going to need to do some fret work to this guitar. So we want to check out this fret. We want to see, is it high because, you know, it was high from the factory, or is it high because it's actually come loose from the wood and is popping up? But before we do that, we need to take off all string tension and take these strings off. So I'll do that right now. So unfortunately here, it looks like the fret has popped out of the slot. And how I can tell that is if I just take a razor blade and very carefully just run it along the fretboard, you can just see that this edge of the razor blade will just go right underneath the fret. So you can see I'm trying to pull up on it right now, and the fret edge is actually catching the razor blade. And then also, just from the end of the fret here, let's see if I can see, you can see that the whole razor blade goes right underneath of the fret. So there's a fair amount of gap in there. So unfortunately, I think I have to take this fret out and then see what the slot is like. Maybe fill the slot just a touch and then reseat the fret. So before I go about taking the fret out, I'm just going to tape off the fretboard here for safety, protect it, because to get this fret out, I'm going to use my soldering iron to heat it up. That softens the oils in the fretboard, softens any high glue or super glue that they put in the fret slot at the factory, you know. And then also what I'm going to be using is I'm just going to be using these fret pullers. And what I've done is these are a Junker pair of fret pullers. The tempering on them, or the hardness, was far too hard. So they actually chipped out really badly. And so this is just my, secondary pair where I ground the face super flat, and it allows me to get really close right up to the fretboard to, get underneath these frets and take them out. So that's what I'm going to use. So I'm going to attempt to do this with a camera right in front of me, but pretty much what I want to do is I want to use my soldering iron, make sure it's all clean first. I want to use my soldering iron to heat the fret. You don't have to press down really hard. You're just pressing the soldering iron against the fret. And then I want to walk my fret pullers or my fret nippers here right underneath the edge of the fret. And I want to start at one end and work all the way to the other. So first off, I'm just going to start heating the fret. There we go. It's already starting to lift. And then I'm just walking puller, and then also bringing my my soldering iron down, and you'll feel it. Like I just tried to go a little bit too fast there, and you could feel that the fret didn't want to pull away. So this is going to take a little bit more heat right here. So it's mainly you just have to be patient. Just keep walking. Keep walking. You just want to start heating the rest of that fret, because this is where, you know, you'll find that chip out will really happen. Ebony is pretty bad. This is rosewood, so it's not too bad for chip out. You just keep walking it. Keep walking it. And there we go. The fret's out. Looking at the fret I just pulled out, I don't think these were ever glued in at the factory, but there seems to be a whole bunch of grime and shavings and whatnot underneath of the fret. So maybe they were never seated properly, and that's what's causing the fret to rise. I'm just taking the edge of the razor blade here, and I'm just getting right into the corner of the fret and just cleaning out that gunk and those filings and whatnot. And then I'll take a look at the fret and see how it fits in the slot. So I'm going to probably have to clean off the top of this fretboard right under where the fret would sit. And I'm going to test the actual seating of the fret in the slot. So I'm just putting it back into the slot. Yeah, see? Look at that. I can press it in by hand. So it's definitely that the actual slot is either cut too wide, or it's just loosened up over time. So I'm definitely going to have to do something to get this slot to fit a lot tighter. I've just taped off the fret slot with some green tape and butted the green tape right up against where the actual slot starts on each edge. And what I'm going to do now is just drip in the smallest amount of super glue into the slot. I'm not trying to fill the slot, I'm just trying to think of it like hardening the edges of the wood inside of the slot, and this will help that fret sit in a lot more firmly. So again, it just takes a couple dabs here and there, especially on the treble side. And then I'm actually going to use an old razor blade to run that super glue through the slot. I don't want to close off the slot, I just want to build up the edges. So you can see the razor blade can go right into the slot, and I can already feel that super glue starting to harden. So I'll do this a couple more times to build up the walls of that slot, and then we'll see how that fret fits in. I'm going to test fit the fret in the slot now that that super glue is hardened. Remember, before I could just press it in with my thumb. Yeah, I can't even get that in there now. So that should be a pretty good fit. We could probably just hammer this in now and not need any additional super glue to hold the fret in. Now it's time to reseat the fret in the slot. So I'm just going to put the fret in where it was as close as possible to its original position at the edge. Just tap in that end. Kind of support the neck a bit here. There we go. So I've prepped the fretboard and some of the body for the fretwork. The tape on the fretboard protects the actual wood of the fretboard, and the tape here on the body protects the body and the lacquer from any type of metal shavings that happen to fall onto there from doing the fretwork. So right now, I'm going to adjust the neck to get it really straight, and then we're going to start with the fret filing. I have a precision straight edge here to check the neck for flatness across the frets. And basically what I want to be doing is in the middle of the fretboard, I want to be checking to see if there's a gap in the neck here. To get a more accurate reading, I'll actually try and hold up the guitar closer to the neck because I don't want to be putting any type of pressure on the headstock here. It may put a little bit of a bow into the neck by doing that. And right now, I'm seeing the neck is actually bowed down this way. So I'm going to have to adjust the truss rod to take that out to get this as straight as possible. I've adjusted the truss rod and I've got the neck pretty straight. I don't know if that's coming up on camera. Now it's pretty much ready to move on to the next step. I take a magic marker and I'll just mark a black line across the top of every single fret. The reason why I do this is when I go to level the frets, the second that black marker is no longer on the top of the fret, you know that you've sanded away that area. Now with very little pressure, I want to take my sanding beam. It's a machined surface, so it's very flat. I want to take it and I want to just gently run it across the frets. You don't really want to press down too hard because when you press down too hard, you have a potential of distorting the dimensions of the actual sanding beam. So the lighter you press, the more accurate of a level you're going to get put into the frets. Now, just by sanding a couple times, I can actually feel that in this whole fretboard, there are a whole bunch of high and low frets everywhere. So no wonder why that we are having some issues with the third fret here. Now, I don't know how well it's coming up on camera, but you can see where that black marker's gone, but also remains. So you can see how uneven the fretboard is in this spot on the guitar neck. Alright everyone, I've got the frets all leveled now, but I definitely noticed something while I was doing it. I think that the fretboard is not very level itself. If we could, I would take all of the frets out, resand the fretboard so it was super level, and then put new frets all back in, but these frets still had a lot of life in them, so all we have to do now is just re-establish the circular top on them and we'll be good to go. So I'll show you how to do that now. So now what I want to do is I want to get this scratch pattern going this way that we created by filing the frets. I want to bring each side of that scratch pattern directly into the middle with a crowning file. So with the right crowning file for the fret, I'm just going to gently take strokes off of the top of the fret and slowly work that scratch pattern from the fret filing right to the middle of the fret. Again, this is something that takes patience because it's very easy to go too far. And then when you've gone too far, you have to re-level all of the frets. So there we go. I've got every single one of the frets crowned. I'll clean up these metal shavings. And then next up is sanding every single one of them with 600 grit and 1000 grit sandpaper. Now I'm just going to file the sharp edges that I've created by filing the tops of the frets. I'm just going to use this fret end file to take those sharp edges down. I'm just rolling the file over the edge, and then I'll come back on the other side and do the exact same. So you could sit here and polish up every single fret individually with different grades of sandpaper, or you can just use a metal polishing compound, a polishing pad, and a drill, and it's much easier. So right now I'm just taking the metal polishing compound and I'm just putting it all over the frets here, all over the fretboard, and you can see definitely why it was a good idea to tape off that entire fretboard, because all of this white polishing compound would get all through the grain of the rosewood, and you don't want that. So just wipe this all on. Try and get an even, coverage on every single one of the frets here. You don't have to go too crazy. Don't put on a whole bunch, because, well, my polishing pad that I use with my drill is pretty loaded with the compound already. Yours may not be if you're just going to start off doing this. But after a while, you don't have to put on a whole bunch, because you'll still have that polishing compound in your polishing pad that you use with your drill. So there we go. That's good. Before I take the tape off, I like to actually use a paper towel and clean the frets off, get any of that polishing compound off, just so that I don't have to fight with getting it off of the fretboard. This way they're clean. The second you take off the green tape, you're good to go. And now, just to double check our work, we're going to check with the 3-sided fret rocker on the problemed area and see, obviously, if it's there or if we fixed it. So no rocking. Nothing. Nothing. Good. Good. So no more issue. Good. So I hope you enjoyed this week's episode of Fix It Friday. Like, comment, subscribe. See you next time.